Darkstalkers the Night Warriors, or Vampire the Night Warriors as it's called in Japan. It's a good old fighting game released in 1994 by Capcom for the arcades and then 2 years later for the good old PlayStation. This is the first game in a series that would span multiple beloved games and start a lot of Rule 34 art. The legend goes that this idea started with one of the producers wanting to make a game of universal monsters. You know, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all the classic movies. And he wanted them all to fight each other. But, unfortunately, Universal wasn't so keen on the idea, and they couldn't come up with an agreement with the licenses and all that, so that idea got canned pretty quickly. But they did not let that stop them, and they decided quickly that they would just make their own versions of these classic monsters. And it's not really hard to figure out which characters is supposed to be based on which legend. You know, Dracula became Dmitri Maximov, Frankenstein became Victor von Gerdenheim, Wolfman became John Talbane, and so on, so on. With the power of hindsight, you can say this was a great choice, because there is one thing everyone agrees on with Darkstalkers, and that is that they like the characters. All of them are larger than life, full of personality and everything. And it came out during a time when fighting games, usually the characters were a bit boring, or even worse, sometimes only just stereotypes of people and countries. That is the reason why, even if you haven't played Darkstalkers, you probably have seen Morrigan around. At this point, she has made more cameos in other games and franchises than actually appearances in her own series.
Is it business that brings you here? Or pleasure?
I can't really decide if that is an awesome thing or a bit sad. The story itself in the game is simple, even for fighting game standards. The super mega evil alien demon Pyron is invading Earth, and it falls on the monsters to put up the last defense of Earth. The fun comes with the ending cutscenes, where the developers obviously had some fun coming up with them. No guaranteed happy endings here. In fact, it could turn out the guy who saved the day was a bigger monster. And now there is nothing left to stop him. The gameplay will be familiar if you have ever played Street Fighter 2. It is immediately noticeable that the game is built on the old Street Fighter engine, as special moves are made the same way and you have pretty much the same cadence in all the movement. Not to say that it is a copy or lazy, no, not at all. It's just that you can feel its roots, and if you are a fan of Street Fighter, it's not a bad thing at all. You have a super bar that you can either use for ultimate attack or boost one of your specials. In Darkstalkers, your bar does deplete with time, so it is a you got it, you use it kind of deal. When the game itself came out, it was a pretty big success right off the bat. Mostly good reviews, a few negative ones, but more importantly, the arcades were swamped, people wanted to play it. But even then there were already rumors and murmurs that it was feeling a bit old. It was based on the same technology that Street Fighter 2 used, and at this point, 3D fighting games like Virtua Fighter, Tekken and Toshinden had started coming out, and they were blowing people's minds. And for many it felt weird to go back to a 2D style. Next to these massive 3D behemoths, maybe Darkstalkers felt a bit drab and old. But that didn't stop them. In the end, a sequel was commissioned almost immediately. Darkstalkers never reached the heights of other Capcom fighters or other big series at the time, and is nowadays counted more as a cult classic than a true classic, but you should definitely play it. Thankfully, Capcom quietly released Darkstalkers Resurrection in 2013, and it has the 3 main games remastered. So if you're even a little bit interested, go grab that. If you can, at least. I just did a search on PSN and couldn't find it, but at least I saw it. It's still on the Xbox Marketplace, so Good news there. And of course, there's always the emulation route if you like to sail the seas. At this point, it is very possible we will never get more of Darkstalkers. So do yourself a favor and go see where that hot succubus chick comes from.